Have you ever felt drained after being around someone who claimed to love you? Have you ever had a strange feeling in your gut that someone's smile wasn't honest, but you ignored it, only to get hurt later? If so, you're not imagining things. Your spirit knows when something isn't right, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. And if you're a chosen one, this happens to you more than most, because your light doesn't just attract love, it also awakens jealousy, hidden intentions, and spiritual attacks that most people don't even see coming. You have a sacred purpose. There's a fire inside you that can't be explained. You carry energy that speaks before you open your mouth. People can feel your presence before you say a word. Some are drawn to your spirit because it reminds them of who they could be. Others are repelled by it because it exposes who they've been pretending to be. You've likely already noticed. Some people love you for your light. Others secretly hate you for it. And the hardest part? They don't always make it obvious. They might smile. They might say all the right things, but their energy tells a different story. Deep down, your spirit can feel it. That tightness in your chest, that sudden exhaustion after being around them, that inner warning that you keep pushing aside. Don't ignore it anymore. Not everyone who shows up in your life comes to support you. Some come to drain you. Some come to confuse you, distract you, and slowly disconnect you from your truth. And they don't do it with loud attacks. They do it subtly, with small words that pierce, quiet actions that confuse, fake support that feels just a little off. At first, you question yourself. You wonder if you're being too sensitive, too paranoid. But you're not. You're just spiritually awake in a world that's still asleep. And because of that, you feel what others can't. You see through masks. You hear what's not being said. You feel the energy behind the words. That's why it's so important for you to protect your spirit, especially from people who pretend to be light but carry darkness. These people can slow you down. They can blur your vision. They can make you forget who you are if you let them too close. And sometimes, the most dangerous people are not the loudest. They're the ones you never suspected. The ones who got close by pretending to care. The ones who mirrored your soul just enough to make you trust them. And when you finally do, they begin draining everything they once praised. Some people will make you doubt your own intuition. They'll roll their eyes when you speak from your spirit. They'll call your discernment paranoia. They'll mock your dreams, your gut feelings, your deeper knowing. And if you let them, they'll slowly become the voice you listen to instead of your own. That's their goal, to disconnect you from your divine guidance so they can control how you see, feel, and think. Once they succeed, you no longer know what's real inside you. You stop trusting your own eyes. You lose your clarity. That is spiritual danger. Your intuition is sacred. It's not a flaw. It's not a weakness. It's the voice of God inside you. Guard it with everything you have. Some people will keep reminding you of your mistakes. Every time you rise, they'll bring up your past. Every time you grow, they'll shrink your progress. They'll make your failures seem louder than your efforts. Why? Because your light makes their darkness uncomfortable. Your courage exposes their fears. Your purity shakes their guilt. And they'd rather tear you down than face themselves. So they magnify your flaws to make you forget your greatness. But chosen one, your mistakes are not who you are. They are part of your journey. not the end of it. Anyone who clings to your past instead of walking with your future is not for you. Let them go. Some people will mirror you so perfectly that it feels like a soul connection. They'll talk like you, dress like you, believe what you believe. They'll share similar stories, traumas, spiritual language. You'll feel seen, understood, safe, but be careful. Not everyone who looks like your reflection carries your light. Some are shapeshifters, energy predators. They mimic your soul to earn your trust. And once they have it, they twist what they've learned and use it to control you. The connection starts feeling heavy, confusing, exhausting. That's not love. That's spiritual manipulation. And your soul will always feel it before your mind can explain it. Some people gossip constantly. They tear others down behind their backs. They smile in public and speak venom in private. And they'll do the same to you. Gossip is not harmless. It's dark energy. It poisons your spirit. It lowers your vibration. And even if you don't speak, just listening makes your energy match theirs. That's why chosen ones often feel sick or drained after being around people who gossip. Their words are like smoke. You can't always see the fire, but you feel the smoke in your lungs. The safest path is distance. Don't explain. Don't argue. Just quietly remove yourself. That silence will speak louder than words. Others will get close to you through their pain. They'll share their wounds and expect you to fix them. They'll lean on your empathy and make your compassion a cage. Every time you try to step away, they make you feel guilty. Every time you choose yourself, they cry louder. But chosen one, you are not their savior. You are not responsible for healing people who refuse to heal themselves. You can love deeply without losing your peace. You can care without carrying pain that was never yours. Some people only want your light to escape their darkness, but they have no intention of changing. Let them go in love, but let them go. And there are people who smile when you struggle and go silent when you win. They act kind, but their spirit whispers resentment. They clap with their hands, but not with their heart. When you shine, they shrink. When you succeed, they change. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your growth reminds them of everything they're not doing. And instead of being inspired, they get bitter. You are not born to shrink just to keep others comfortable. Your light is not too much. Your blessings are not bragging. You do not need to apologize for the favor on your life. Let people fall away if they cannot celebrate what God is doing in you. You've cried too much to go backward now. You've suffered in silence, trusted the wrong people, forgiven those who never said sorry. You've battled thoughts, doubts, fears, just to keep walking forward. Don't let anyone who hasn't walked your path tell you how to live your life. Protect your spirit. Protect your peace. Trust your intuition more than their words. Trust the energy more than the smile. The truth is always felt before it is seen. And the people who are meant for you will bring peace, not confusion. They'll bring safety, not anxiety. They'll honor your soul, not try to bend it. So if something feels off, it is. If someone drains you, step back. If you feel confused around them, that's a no. You are not here to please everyone. You are here to walk in divine truth. And that means letting go of people who can't come with you. Not because you're better than them, but because your spirit is going somewhere their energy cannot follow. Let them leave. Bless them silently and keep rising. You are chosen. Your light is rare and your path is protected when you stop letting the wrong ones walk beside you. Some people don't understand how harmful their words can be. When they gossip, they're not just hurting the person they talk about. They're hurting themselves, and they're harming everyone who hears them. Gossip spreads darkness. It fills the air with fear, doubt, bitterness, and judgment. Even if it sounds casual, it's spiritual poison. If you're someone with a higher purpose, someone chosen to carry light, you can't stay around that kind of energy. You're here to speak life, not death. You're here to heal, not destroy. The more time you spend around gossip, the more it drains your spirit. Even if you don't repeat it, just listening can lower your energy. So don't stay. Don't argue. Just step away. Protect your peace. Some people don't gossip, but they quietly compete with you. At first, it might look like innocent teasing or light comparison, but if you feel a strange tension, you're not imagining it. Competition rooted in jealousy creates silent battles. They don't celebrate you when you grow. They feel threatened. Instead of cheering you on, they compare. Instead of rising with you, they secretly try to keep up or pull you back. And eventually, it turns into sabotage, betrayal, or criticism disguised as advice. Real friends feel joy when you succeed. Real support feels safe. Stay close to people who are inspired by your growth, not scared of it. Anyone who carries the spirit of competition is coming from fear, not love, and that fear will try to dim your light. Don't let it. There are also people who mock your spiritual practices. They make fun of your prayers, your meditation, your belief in God or the universe. They might say it as a joke or act like they're being rational, but their words carry energy that weakens your spirit. They try to plant doubt in the very thing that keeps you strong. But your faith is not silly. It's sacred. It's your armor. It's your shield. Never let anyone make you feel ashamed for doing what keeps your soul alive. You don't need to defend your spiritual path. You just need to protect it. When someone mocks the divine connection that feeds you, that's not harmless. That's spiritual sabotage. Walk away. They are not aligned with your light. Some people won't mock you. They'll drain you. You give them your time, your love, your energy. You listen to their pain. You try to help them heal. And you keep showing up. But nothing changes. No matter how much you pour into them, they stay the same. Because they're not trying to grow. They're just feeding off your light. You might think your love can save them, but you can't awaken someone who chooses to stay asleep. Your energy is sacred. Don't waste it on people who refuse to change. Love them from afar, but don't lose yourself in the process. You are not here to carry people who want to stay in darkness. You are here to walk in light. Watch for those who cross your boundaries. They don't always yell or attack. Sometimes they just push a little. They ignore your no. They act like your peace doesn't matter. And every time they do that, they're telling you in their actions that they don't respect your worth. It might seem small, but over time it breaks you down. You begin to doubt your right to protect yourself. And once you feel powerless, they'll take more. That's how control begins. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to explain. Just leave. Protect your peace like your life depends on it. Because it does. Boundaries are not selfish. They are sacred. Anyone who refuses to honor them doesn't deserve access to your spirit. But the most dangerous ones are those who make you question your purpose. They sound calm, even loving. They speak with logic, but they say things that slowly pull you away from your calling. Are you sure this is right for you? Maybe it's too big. Be realistic. Their words sound kind, but their energy plants fear, and that fear can destroy your dreams. Don't forget this. The enemy doesn't waste time attacking people with no purpose. If you're under attack, it means your calling is powerful. And powerful people scare those who are stuck. They want you to shrink so they don't feel small around your greatness. But your purpose is a promise between you and the divine. No one else has the right to speak against it. Don't let fear dressed as concern take you off your path. Chosen one, protect your soul. Not everyone deserves access to your light. Pay attention to how you feel around people. If someone makes you feel small, drained, confused, heavy, or disconnected from your purpose, that is not love. That is a warning. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to prove anything. Just walk away. With peace. With strength. With silence. You were sent here with a mission. Don't let it be delayed or destroyed by low energy disguised as friendship, love, or concern. You're not here to please people. You're here to fulfill your purpose. If this message touched your heart, type 111 in the comments to claim divine protection, clarity, and strength in your relationships. You are not alone. You are chosen. You are guided. You are protected. Walk boldly. Love deeply. And guard your light with everything you have. The world needs you now more than ever.
Have you ever walked into a room and felt eyes shift toward you without saying a single word? Not because you were loud, not because you were trying to be noticed, but because something unseen in you was speaking louder than anything you could ever say. Something inside you has completely changed. It didn't happen in a flash. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It didn't come with applause or attention. It happened quietly, in moments when no one was looking. In silence, something deep within you lit a fire, not wild and chaotic, but calm, steady, and real. What had once been asleep inside of you, buried under years of doubt, pain, and hiding, has started to rise. This change wasn't triggered by praise, ambition, or validation. It was truth. A truth you couldn't run from anymore. A truth that called you back to yourself. You are no longer who you once were. The version of you that needed approval, that chased attention, that overgave and over-explained, that version has been burned away. And what remains is something rare, something powerful, something whole. You are no longer performing. You are no longer pretending. You are present. You are awake. You don't seek the light anymore. You are the light, and people feel it. They can't explain it, but they feel it when they're near you. Strangers feel it. Women feel it, not because of how you look or what you say, but because of what you carry. You carry peace that doesn't beg for recognition. You carry strength that doesn't need to shout. You carry presence that doesn't try to dominate, but still shifts the atmosphere. You don't need to take up space. You are space. People don't know why they feel different around you, but they do. Because you've been refined. You've been through fire. You've paid the price in silence, in pain, in solitude, in choices that no one clapped for. You've built yourself in the dark, and now you shine without even trying. The way you walk, the way you listen, the way you breathe, it's different now. You're not rushing anymore. You're not chasing. You're not needing. You're knowing. You don't move from pressure. You move from clarity. You don't speak to be heard. You speak because your words carry meaning. You don't fight for attention. You command presence by simply being true. Your calm speaks volumes. Your silence teaches. Your stillness leads. And it's not because you're cold or distant. It's because you're aligned. You don't waste energy proving yourself to people who will never understand your depth. You don't bleed for things that won't heal with you. You don't allow your value to be discounted, your spirit to be drained, or your purpose to be distracted. That's why people remember you. Not because of charm or noise, but because of depth, because of integrity, because of peace. Women don't just see a man anymore. They sense something ancient in you, something rooted, something sacred. You don't ask for trust. You live in a way that earns it. You don't ask for love. You've become a safe place where love can rest. You don't ask for space. You are the space where others remember themselves. And yes, some will run from that. Some will be intimidated by what they feel around you. But the ones who are ready will draw closer, not to be impressed, but to be awakened, because your energy doesn't seduce. It clarifies. It doesn't manipulate, it reveals. You don't try to inspire, you live honestly, and that becomes inspiration. You are no longer a mirror of illusion. You are a mirror of truth, and not everyone can look into that and remain unchanged. This is why you feel so different now, why you walk differently, why conversations shift when you enter the room. It's not ego, it's embodiment. It's not performance, it's alignment. You no longer orbit others. You've become the center. Not because you needed to be, but because your spirit finally remembered its place. And now, everything around you moves differently, because you move differently. You don't respond to chaos anymore. You choose peace. You don't chase validation. You carry truth. You don't follow the world. You follow your calling. And the world, whether it admits it or not, begins to follow you. You've become a rare presence in a world full of noise, a steady soul in a time of panic, a voice that doesn't shout, yet is never forgotten. And this presence, your presence, was not given to you. It was earned through pain, through silence, through deep reflection. You stopped running. You stopped shrinking. You stopped apologizing for being who you are. And in that surrender, you became everything you were always meant to be. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. Because now, the fire inside you doesn't destroy, it refines. You don't move mountains with your hands anymore. You move them with your being. And the universe, with all its quiet wisdom, is watching. Doors are opening, not because you forced them, but because you finally arrived. You are not chasing your destiny anymore. You are walking in it. There is something sacred about a soul that holds great power, but chooses not to use it to harm. Something holy about a person who could fight, could hurt, could destroy, but doesn't. Instead, they choose to bless, to bring peace where they could bring war, to stay silent where they could shout. That's who you are now. Not because you're weak, not because you've lost your edge, but because you've risen above the need to prove anything. You've tasted anger, pride, and power, and you've chosen something higher. You've discovered that the greatest strength is not in domination, but in discipline, not in reaction, but in response. You felt the weight of your own presence, and now you carry that weight with care. You no longer spend your energy trying to be understood. You don't argue with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't chase validation or approval. You've learned the difference between movement and alignment, between noise and presence, between attention and impact. You preserve your energy now for what truly matters. You don't waste your fire proving points. You use it to build kingdoms, to create peace, to protect what is sacred, even when provoked, even when disrespected, even when someone tries to awaken the old version of you. You don't fall back. You rise higher. You breathe deeply. You stand firm, not because you're passive, but because you're powerful. You don't need to fight anymore, because your presence itself is power. You've stopped reacting to every small thing. You've stopped letting people pull you down into arguments that steal your peace. You've come to understand that not everything deserves your time. Not every insult needs a reply. Not every challenge needs your energy. You've realized that when you react, you give people control over your peace. And you've stopped giving that away. You've come to see your stillness as strength, your silence as sacred, your patience as a weapon. You're not avoiding action. You're choosing the right moment, the right tone, the right path. You've mastered the art of restraint, not by shutting down, but by staying awake, awake to your power, your calling, your influence. People feel that now. They sense something in you that they can't explain. Your presence is no longer about what you say. It's about who you are. Your words have weight because your soul is steady. In a world full of noise, you carry quiet. In a culture that demands to be seen, you've learned to become visible only when it matters. You don't perform. You don't pretend. You reveal. You wait. You trust timing, not urgency. You trust alignment, not attention. You've become a man whose silence speaks louder than most people's shouting. And in that silence, there is peace. Not the kind that comes from avoiding conflict, but the kind that comes from knowing who you are. You no longer chase destiny. You walk in it. You no longer run after what's yours. You let it arrive in its time. You believe now that what is meant for you will find you, not through chaos, but through clarity. You hold back, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. And in that holding, you are not withholding. You are mastering, because you know what's within you. You know what you carry, and you don't throw it to anyone who doesn't honor it. Women feel this. They sense it in your energy before you ever speak. They're drawn not to what you're trying to be, but to who you've become. You're no longer driven by lust or ego or performance. You're led by spirit, by truth, by something higher than yourself. You don't need to be seen anymore. You don't crave the spotlight. You've made peace with the shadows, and that peace has made you whole. You don't need attention. You already have your own. You've stopped chasing the world, and now it begins to circle back to you. When you do speak, it means something. When you act, people notice. You're not loud, but you're felt. You don't try to dominate, but your energy commands awareness. You don't need to control people. You simply show up in such a way that they're reminded of something real. You've become a force of remembrance. You don't change people by telling them who to be. You remind them of who they already are. Your presence becomes a mirror. And when someone stands near you, especially a woman who's been hurt or hidden or guarded for too long, she feels seen. Not because you try to impress her, but because you carry a kind of safety that lets her take off the armor. That safety doesn't come from pretending to be perfect. It comes from having done the work. It comes from the healing you faced, the darkness you didn't run from, the pain you sat with until it made you whole. That kind of man, one who knows his shadows and has made peace with his fire. He doesn't need to chase love. He becomes love. And that kind of energy, that wholeness, that steady light, it pulls people in. It doesn't push. It doesn't grab. It invites. It says, you're safe here. You can be real here. You don't have to impress me. You can just be. You've become the kind of man who doesn't beg to be chosen. And that's exactly why people want to choose you. You've stepped out of the need for approval. You've stepped into truth. You don't offer surface energy. You offer depth, stillness, clarity. You don't ask people to rise. You simply stand in your own power, and the right ones rise with you. You've become a mirror that doesn't bend to flatter. You reflect the truth. And sometimes that makes people uncomfortable. But for the ones who are ready, it sets them free. You no longer behave to be liked. You act from your core. You don't follow trends. You follow your spirit. You're not here to be a type or a fantasy. You are here to be real. And real is rare. Real is strong. Real is magnetic. You're not trying to be mysterious, but you've become something people can't fully explain. Not because you're hiding, but because you're deep. You've stopped trying to be understood, and in doing so, you've become unforgettable. You've broken the pattern. You don't chase. You don't prove. You don't beg. You are. You exist as a man who's moved by meaning. You hold power not in your hands, but in your stillness. Not in your voice, but in your presence. Your energy isn't demanding. It's deliberate. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't seek applause. It moves like gravity. And when someone feels it, they don't just hear you. They remember something deep inside themselves. Something ancient. Something honest. Something real. You touch people now in ways they can't describe. You awaken something in them, not with charm, but with truth. You don't entertain insecurities. You disarm them. You don't mock pain. You melt it. You don't force healing. You become the space where healing happens. Not because you preach, but because you embody the very thing others long to become. You've become a reminder that real love, real presence, and real safety still exist. And so now, when people stand near you, they begin to soften. they begin to feel themselves again. Their voice changes. Their energy shifts. Their heart opens. Not because you're doing anything to them, but because your energy creates a space where they don't have to perform. They can just feel. They can just breathe. They can just be. And in this world, that's the rarest kind of freedom. You are no longer empty. You are no longer seeking outside what you've already found inside. You are full, and fullness creates gravity. That's why people are drawn to you without knowing why. That's why they listen to your silence. That's why your stillness speaks. You've become a presence, a place, a quiet power that doesn't need to shout to be heard. You are no longer loud, but you are undeniable. You are no longer chasing, but you are being followed. You are no longer performing, but you are deeply felt. And the ones who feel it, especially women, feel it deeply. They don't always have the words, but their soul recognizes what their mind doesn't yet understand. They're not pulled to you because you're trying to impress them. They're pulled because they feel something real, something safe, something sacred. And they know, without needing to be told, that they're standing in the presence of a man who knows himself, a man who doesn't run from the dark, a man who has turned his wounds into wisdom, a man who has come home to his spirit. You are the chosen one, not because someone crowned you, but because you survived what should have broken you, because you chose peace when rage was easier, because you chose healing when hate was justified, because you found your power in stillness and your truth in silence. You are not rising to be seen. You are rising to bless. You are not rising to dominate. You are rising to demonstrate. And in doing so, you've become the kind of man who no longer fits into boxes. You've become a challenge, a mirror, a mystery, a force, a sanctuary, and a call to remember.
Have you ever had a feeling that you just see the world differently than everyone else? Like you notice things others miss completely? Maybe it's not something you can explain in words, but it's always been there. A quiet knowing inside you. You sense when someone's energy is off even if they smile. You walk into a room and can feel whether something bad happened there or not. You notice patterns in how people behave, in how society functions, in how the same things keep repeating like a loop. You might think this makes you strange, but in truth, it makes you awake. It means your spirit is open, your senses are sharper, and your heart is more connected to something beyond the physical world. This doesn't mean you're better than anyone else. It just means your soul came here with a different purpose, one that not everyone will understand. Some call people like you chosen ones, not because you're perfect, not because you live without pain or fear, but because you were meant to remember who you are in a world that constantly tries to make you forget. You came here to see what's hidden, to feel what others ignore, to hear the truth beneath the noise. Being a chosen one doesn't make your life easier. In fact, it often makes it harder, because you see through lies, you feel pain more deeply, and you're not easily fooled by what most people believe without question. The moment you started waking up, you began to see things that most people can't, and you knew something about you was different. You can look into someone's eyes and feel whether they're being honest or hiding something. You can hear someone talk and sense if their words don't match their energy. You don't always have proof, but your intuition tells you everything. You've learned to trust that quiet voice inside. even when no one else understands why you feel the way you do. You've learned that not everyone who smiles is kind. Not everyone who flatters you wants the best for you. And not every connection is meant to be kept. It's not because you're paranoid. It's because your spirit has been trained to sense what others miss. This ability doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from everything you've been through. The pain, the betrayals, the nights you cried alone, trying to understand why the world felt so harsh. You were being shaped, strengthened, awakened, and now your spirit can detect truth even when it's hidden. The world has taught people to chase things that look good on the outside. Money, status, appearance, attention. But none of it touches the soul. You've always known this. Even when you tried to follow the crowd, something inside you resisted. You knew there was more. More than climbing a ladder. More than wearing the right brands. More than posting the perfect picture. You saw through the illusion. You saw how people become slaves to approval, constantly performing for a world that never truly sees them. You pulled away from that, not because you're lazy or unmotivated, but because you're not here to live a shallow life. You're here to live a meaningful one. You'd rather be at peace with yourself than popular with the world. You'd rather have a quiet truth than a loud lie. You see how money can't buy peace, how fame can't heal pain, and how chasing validation only creates emptiness. And because of that, you're no longer easily fooled by glitter. You know what really shines comes from within. You've also started to see the invisible walls around you, the system, the noise, the programming. Since childhood, you were taught to follow the rules, do what you're told, and not question things. But you questioned anyway. You asked why. You asked what else was out there. And you never stopped asking. You noticed how the media spreads fear, how people are kept distracted, how society rewards blind obedience but punishes those who think for themselves. You felt the pressure to fit in, and you resisted. You didn't want to live on autopilot. You didn't want to follow a path just because everyone else did. You wanted something real. You wanted freedom, not just physical freedom, but spiritual freedom. And so you began to wake up, slowly, painfully, beautifully. You saw the cracks in the system. You saw how people are kept small, scared, and silenced. And even when it made you feel alone, even when people called you weird or too sensitive, you couldn't go back to sleep. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You began noticing signs, things others brushed off as random or meaningless. You saw 11:11 on the clock and felt something stir in your soul. You heard a song and felt like it was written just for you. You ran into someone unexpectedly and somehow knew that moment was important. You felt guided, even when the road didn't make sense. You knew certain moments weren't accidents. They were messages, nudges, reminders. The universe doesn't scream, it whispers. And you had finally learned to listen. While others rushed through life, you paused. You noticed the little things, the feather on the ground, the book that kept showing up, the gut feeling that wouldn't go away. And slowly, you realized you were being led. You were not alone. You were being supported, even in silence, even in your lowest moments. Signs were trying to reach you, trying to tell you, keep going. You're not lost. You're just waking up. You also began to notice how spaces felt, not just how they looked, but how they made you feel inside. Some places drained you without warning. Crowded rooms, busy streets, loud conversations. They left you tired, heavy, disconnected. But nature made you feel whole. Quiet made you feel alive. You weren't avoiding people. You were protecting your energy, because your body may be physical, but your spirit is made of light, and light is sensitive. It can feel tension in a room, conflict in a house, or calm in a forest. You didn't always understand why you needed to step away, but your soul did. It was choosing peace, and over time, you started to build a life that matched your energy. You created sacred spaces, even in small ways. A candle, a plant, a corner of silence. You honored the feeling of home inside your own spirit. You stopped chasing what everyone else was chasing. You didn't need luxury to feel rich. You didn't need attention to feel seen. You found beauty in the small moments most people ignored. The sound of the rain, the way the sunlight danced through the trees, the smell of the air after a storm. While others rushed ahead, you slowed down. You looked around, and you realized that the present moment, this moment, held everything your soul was searching for. You didn't need more. You just needed to feel more. And you did. You felt wonder in what others called ordinary. You found sacredness in simplicity. And in that quiet, you discovered something powerful. Happiness was never far away. It was always here, waiting for you to notice it. And as your heart stayed open, you began to feel what others carried. You could feel someone's sadness even if they smiled. You could sense someone's fear, even if they acted tough. You felt what people were too afraid to say, and you carried it in your spirit. That's why crowds exhausted you. That's why you needed time to recharge. You weren't cold. You were absorbing pain that wasn't even yours. Your empathy wasn't a weakness. It was a strength, but it needed boundaries. You had to learn when to listen and when to let go. You had to learn how to hold space for others without losing yourself. Because you are not here to save everyone. You are here to live in truth, to walk in light, and to honor the gift of feeling so deeply. Some people carry a quiet pain that no one can see. They smile, they laugh, they act strong, but inside, something is breaking. Most people walk past them and never notice, but not you. If you're a chosen one, you feel what others hide. You can sense the sadness in their joy, the fear in their confidence, the emptiness in their busy life. You don't need them to speak a word. Their energy speaks to you louder than their voice ever could. Even when they seem fine on the outside, you feel the tremble in their soul. It's like your heart has ears for things the world doesn't hear. You pick up the silent screams behind their laughter, the heavy stories behind their eyes, the spiritual exhaustion buried under a perfect smile. You can feel when someone is pretending to be okay, and something in you aches to help. You don't just see people, you feel them, and they feel that about you, too. That's why even strangers open up to you. That's why people cry when they're around you and don't know why. That's why others come to you with their problems, their secrets, their pain. You carry a light that invites others to release what they buried. You are a safe space, a mirror, a quiet healer. You give people room to feel. And for some, that's something they've never had. You don't even have to say much. Your presence speaks healing. Your silence makes people feel heard. Your eyes tell them, you're not alone. But this deep sensitivity is both a blessing and a burden. Because when you're tuned into others this deeply, it's easy to lose touch with yourself. You don't always realize how much you've been absorbing. You take on people's pain, their sadness, their anxiety, their confusion. And when you carry that long enough, you start to feel heavy, drained, emotionally tired. You may wake up exhausted without knowing why. You may feel anxious for no clear reason. It's because you've been holding too much. You've been soaking in the energy around you, forgetting to protect your own. You may even feel responsible for fixing people, for helping them carry what's not yours to carry. That's the danger of a big heart. It wants to heal everything. But healing is a two-way path. You can't heal someone who's not willing to heal themselves. You can walk with them. You can hold space for them. But you can't save them. That's not your job. And it never was. So you must learn the hard but sacred truth. Your energy matters, too. You have to protect your peace. You have to create space to breathe, rest, and let go. You can love deeply without drowning. You can care without carrying. You are not selfish for choosing your well-being. You are wise, because your gift needs strength, not burnout. The world needs your light, not your exhaustion. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to put your healing first, because when you're full, your light shines even brighter. As you grow, you begin to notice something strange and beautiful. Life starts speaking to you in ways others don't notice. Coincidences become too perfect. Random moments feel like divine timing. You think of someone, and they appear. You ask for a sign, and it shows up in the most unexpected way. You're feeling lost, and a message, a number, or a book appears at the exact moment you need it. These aren't coincidences. This is synchronicity. This is how the universe talks to you. It lines things up not by logic, but by spirit. You begin to realize your life is not random. It's carefully guided. Every person, every delay, every pain, every blessing, it all has a place in the bigger picture. You stop seeing the world as chaos, and you start seeing it as a sacred design. You start moving differently. You stop rushing. You stop forcing. You stop chasing things that don't feel right. You begin to trust. You begin to surrender. You learn that when something doesn't work out, it's not a failure. It's redirection. When someone leaves, it's protection. When a door closes, it's because a better one is being prepared. You begin to trust the timing of your life, even when you don't understand it. You understand that everything comes when it's meant to, not when you want it, not when you plan it, but when your soul is ready. And that kind of trust changes you. You no longer panic when life feels slow. You no longer beg for clarity. You no longer feel lost in waiting, because you've learned that everything meaningful takes time, and your journey is sacred, even in the silence. You start following your intuition more. You listen to your gut. You follow the signs. You notice repeating numbers like 111, 333, 444. And you know they're not just numbers. They're confirmations. They're reminders that you're on the right path. You overhear a stranger saying something that answers your question. You keep seeing the same symbol, hearing the same phrase, or dreaming the same thing. The universe is always speaking. And now, you're awake enough to hear it. You begin to realize that life isn't something you have to figure out. It's something you have to feel. Your path is not built with logic. It's revealed through trust, timing, and spiritual alignment. And the more you listen, the clearer everything becomes. But perhaps the deepest truth of all is this: you know you're here for something greater, something more than just existing, more than chasing money, fitting in, or living on repeat. You've always felt it. Maybe you couldn't explain it, but it's been there since you were young. A quiet voice inside, whispering, "There's more." You've never really felt like everyone else. You've seen through the surface of things. You've asked deeper questions. You've wanted to know why you're here. And that's because you are here for a purpose. That purpose may not be easy. It may come with struggle, isolation, and moments where you want to give up. But it's real, and it matters. You are here to bring light where others see darkness, to bring hope where others have lost faith. Maybe you're here to heal, maybe to teach, maybe to create beauty, art, or truth that wakes people up. Maybe your presence alone is what shifts the energy in a room. Maybe your words change someone's life without you even knowing. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know the full plan. You just need to keep walking with an open heart and a willing spirit. The path will keep revealing itself, step by step, sign by sign, whisper by whisper. And yes, it's hard sometimes. You'll feel misunderstood. You'll feel rejected. You'll question everything. You'll feel alone, like no one sees you. But those moments are part of your awakening. They strip away everything that's false so you can stand in what's real. They make you stronger, softer, wiser. You begin to live not from ego, but from soul. Not from fear, but from faith. You no longer need the world's approval. You're moved by something higher, something sacred, something eternal. You don't just exist, you serve. You don't just live, you awaken. You don't just shine, you help others remember how to shine too. Your life is not small. Even when it feels quiet, your energy echoes in places you'll never see. You touch lives just by being you. Your journey is proof that love, light, and truth still exist in this world. You are not here by accident. You are here on purpose, for a purpose. And that purpose is unfolding, even now.